welcome to the Magical Mystery School, and thank you so much for coming back to Current Events Astrology. Did I say the Magical Mystery School? On July 18th, 2025. So today we're going to talk about Mercury going retrograde, which actually happened last night on the 17th, but we'll also be talking about the sun going into Leo and the new moon in Leo. And oh, I should also mention that this retrograde is in Leo too. So we're having a really big Leo week going on here. Now, first let's look at last week. Now, like I think I've told you guys, I don't watch tons of news, but well, the big thing I heard about was the Epstein files. And we were talking about last week, Saturn went retrograde on the 12th, Neptune went retrograde on the 4th. So, you know, this is secrets coming out slowly, right? And during this retrograde period, I'm almost wondering, are we going to hear about this Epstein stuff all the way through this fall? Oh my God. If we do, it's going to be pretty amazing. Okay, so let's get started on this week. All right, so last night, Mercury, on July 17th, Mercury went retrograde at 9:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time at 15 degrees Leo, 35 minutes. Now, of course, Leo, and that's can't get much more in the middle of a sign than that. And Leo, of course, is our fixed fire, so it can be a little stubborn and want to hold its position and that kind of thing. Oh, and I should also mention too, it's going to go retrograde until August 11th, and that's when it's going to turn around and go direct. So just one more time with that shadow. So Mercury went up to 15. Now it's going to retrograde back to 4, station, and it's going to station, get off at the station, or get on at the station. It's stopping at 4 degrees Leo. And that's when the shadow started the first time around, at that 4 degrees. And then it's going to go up to that 15-degree mark. And it's, even though it's direct, it's still going to be in that shadow. And then once it gets past that 15-degree mark, it'll be out of its shadow. And for me, I think you guys have all, you know, for me, it's like that week coming up to it. Applying is always more powerful to me. And then once it goes away, the shadow's pretty weak for me on the back side. But anyway, see what it's like for you, because that's the biggie I've been trying to stress. Are you super sensitive to Mercury retrograde? Are you a Virgo or a Gemini that's ruled by Mercury? Do you have a lot of Mercury in your chart, like Mercury conjunct some, you know, Saturn or the Sun or some other important planet like that? How important are Mercury retrogrades? And you'll know it. I mean, you'll either like, oh, was Mercury retrograde? I didn't even know. Or are you the type like a week or two before, it's like your computer starts to glitch. Things happen with the car, you know, on and on. So, oh, and the other thing too, I want to start, the next level of that is, okay, one of you might, someday you may, you know, this Mercury retrograde in Leo, you're like, nothing happened. You know, no big deal for me. But then the next Mercury retrograde really knocks you out. Well, look and see where it's happening. So if you're a Leo sun, a Leo moon, a Leo ascendant, a Leo midheaven, this particular retrograde may be affecting you more so, whereas another one may not affect you so much. Like the last one happened in Aries. So, you know, it could vary in that respect too. Okay. Now, with all this energy going into Leo, you know, I think I was saying that they're sort of, you know, this is royalty, so they can be a little prideful and all the way to being a little arrogant, that kind of thing. Very kind of fixed fire, can be stubborn, but oh my God, what a fun person a Leo is, right? They're into the theater, they're into arts. They're also good at speculation and investments. So they're willing to take risks on things just in general. And Leos also have that ability to inspire people. So they make fantastic leaders, okay? So that's just with the sun and the new moon, just keep all that good Leo keywords in mind. Now the next morning, that's this morning on July 18th at 6:37 a.m. Pacific time, retrograde Mercury is going to sextile Venus. That's right at 15 degrees Gemini. Okay, so fire, air. Remember, our sextiles are always complementary elements. Fire, air, and then water, earth, water, earth, water, earth, etc. Okay, so those are always the sextiles. Now, what drove me crazy about this is because when I first looked at it, all I saw was one hit on the retrograde and then no more sextiles. And remember, with retrogrades, you always want to remember there's always going to be a direct hit, a retrograde hit, and then a direct hit. So why was this Mercury sextiling Venus only getting one hit on the retrograde? Well, what happened was, with Venus zooming along here, or coming along, I shouldn't say, Mercury was the one that was zooming at 2 degrees a day. Now he's pretty much stopped at 1 degree for this week. Got all the way up to 15, and then turned and went retrograde, and Venus hit it and was keep going on. And so Mercury's going to kind of go back and forth here over the next, good 5 weeks, 6 weeks before it's totally out of the shadow. And Venus is going to come up along behind, so there's never going to be a chance for those second and third hits. Probably the next one is going to be Venus conjunct Mercury, but I didn't look ahead that far. I can't say that for sure. So anyway, okay. So that's what's... Oh, and the other thing, too, I wanted to mention, with Leo, the sun going into Leo here, too. Remember that these 3 planets are kind of move in a group, okay? And here we're going to be seeing Mercury sort of the way shore right now, but with this retrograde, the sun's going to overtake and become the first one. So you kind of want to keep in mind what order these 3 are as they make their way around the chart. Okay, all right. Then, on July 22nd, that's when the sun goes into Leo at 6:29 a.m. And literally on that same day, because remember, whenever a planet goes into a sign now, we want to think about what's it doing to Uranus. Because Uranus is at 0 degrees, I think 8 minutes, or 32 minutes, excuse me, of Gemini. So it's a half a degree into Gemini. So first thing the sun's going to do, fire, air, it's going to sextile. Woohoo! Well, that's going to be kind of a fun day. So mark that on your calendar. And then, so just keep that in mind. Now, it's not going to triance the Saturn and Neptune until the day of the new moon on the 24th. So next I want to look at, we've got this really interesting configuration going on, and we'll come back to this sun and Mercury and such. Now remember, we've got the South Node at right about 19 degrees Virgo, so that means the North Node is exactly opposite it, right? These 2 guys are off, so it's up at 19 degrees Pisces. Virgo, here's kind of our health planets. And what have we got coming along here? Well, on the 20th of July, we're going to have Mars conjunct the South Node. Let's see, I'll put him, I don't want to, here, how about this? Okay, so Mars is going to conjunct the South Node. So our first interpretation for this is always, well, anger in the past. Because remember the nodes? The North Node is the future, where we're going. The South Node is the past, what tools and skills we're bringing to develop this North Node. But here we've got Mars coming along, adding some strength here to this South Node. So watch out for getting hung up into repeating patterns. And another one of these will come up here in a couple of days. Then on July 21st, Venus squares these nodes, okay? So we're getting that T-square thing. Remember that? So we're looking for the outlet point. So square, 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 and the outlet point is going to be about 19 degrees Sagittarius. So if you've got anything immutable, right? Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, keep your eye out for this because this is going to affect us all here. Now, then on the 23rd of July, Venus comes into an exact perfected square to Mars. Now, this can be disagreements. Now, remember, this can be with partners. This could literally be disagreements inside yourself. This can be at work. We think of it as romance because Venus and Mars are kind of our astral lovers there. And with a square there, it's going to get pretty exciting. So there could be some arguments and fights all during this 20th to the 23rd, but especially on the 23rd. So if you're having disagreements with someone, and especially if you start to realize, I think I've had this same argument like a month ago, maybe even like almost word for word. I've been married, so I know how this goes sometimes. So just remember, if you find yourself repeating some old pattern, even if it's a nice verbal fight like this, step back and look for your Sag stuff. Look for, okay, you know, how can we broaden our minds? How can we, maybe we just need to go somewhere and get out of this T-square, this square energy and do something different. Sag is very open-minded, so be willing to do something different for sure. Let's see. Oh, and also with Venus here, and you know, and Mars is a creative sign also in its own way, but use creativity and fun to really make things kind of go your way a little bit better. Now, the other big thing I want to mention, and I think I'm going to pull these two away just to make it a little bit more visually easier to look at. These two square. But what these two are going to do on that same, during this same period, is they're going to sesquisquare Pluto. Now you may go, oh, what's a sesquisquare? You never talked about that. Well, yeah, in these videos, I'm pretty much focused on these five, what I would call the five main primary aspects: conjunction, opposition, square, trine, and sextile. But there are semi-squares and sesquisquares, and they are really important aspects. But these five are like, you know, if you don't know these, I mean, you got to know these to be an astrologer, and that's what I want you guys to all be astrologers. But anyway, so a semi-square, easy enough, is, okay, a square is 90 degrees, so we just divide that by 2, so semi, it's half. So it's 45 degrees, and it's got this little angle, that's its glyph. And then a sesquisquare, and sesqui is Latin for 1.5. So you take that 90-degree square plus 45, and you get 135. And the symbol for it is a square with that, I guess maybe that's the same angle there. And sometimes it's called a sesquiquadrate. Boy, let's make astrology even harder, huh? So if you hear the word quadrate, sesquiquadrate, it's the same aspect here. But what this is doing is this typical, you know, Venus-Mars square. That does happen. But with this sesquisquadrate to Pluto, I mean, we could be going into some really, really deep, dark stuff. So just be prepared for that these arguments, especially if they start going to the past, you know, sometimes it's good to go underneath it all. You got to dig down sometimes to find relief. But just remember that this could be a pretty intense time between the 20th to the 23rd. Okay. Then, as I was saying then, that the sun went into Leo on the 22nd. So, hopefully that's in the mix here too, but hopefully that will kind of cheer us up a little bit with a little sextile to Uranus there in the middle of all that. But that's all just getting us ready for this new moon that's coming up on the 24th. Okay, so the new moon, of course, is when the moon and the sun conjunct, and that's happening at 12:11 p.m. on July 24th at 2 degrees Leo, 8 minutes. So I think Pluto's up here at like 2 degrees 40 minutes or something like that. Very, very close. So literally, so we've got this sextile happening 2 days before. And then the morning of, at 4:23 a.m., sun's going to trine Saturn. Then at 10:30, it's going to trine Neptune at 2 degrees. And then the moon, zooming in here, right in between that is going to sextile Uranus. So see how the moon is going to repeat these same patterns here? And then the moon will also, just before the new moon, is going to trine Saturn and Neptune. And then we'll have our new moon at 2:11. And then literally like a half hour later, or maybe like 45 minutes later, the moon is going to keep moving and oppose Pluto. Okay? And then about 12 hours later, the sun's going to move far enough ahead to oppose Pluto. So we are, that's probably the most significant aspect of everything that's going on for this new moon. And remember, you know, all this stuff I've been talking about with this, the Venus and the Saturn and the nodes, all that's in effect. But this is really affecting the new moon for sure. So anyway, you know, we're having a little difficulty there because, you know, Leo is all about let's do it, let's go, let's make it happen, wee, fun and games, that sort of thing. And then Pluto up here in Aquarius, I mean, they are both fixed, but he can get a little stodgy up here. Remember, the ancient ruler of Aquarius was Saturn. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to want to slow things down or be just kind of resistant to that. And once this deep emotional change, and not just run by, you know, think about, you know, one of the things too about this Saturn, or this moon sun opposition Pluto, is that it's making that sign of the architect. Do you remember that? Okay, so that's when we have an opposition, okay, and it's right basically on the cusp. It's like at 2 degrees of Leo and Aquarius. But see how it sextiles Saturn and Pluto? And that's called a release point for this opposition. And actually, we've got 2 of them. Woohoo! Look at that. Right down there on Aquarius, too. Because we've got sextiles. So if you're having difficulties with this Pluto opposing the sun moon, think about, you know, go into like, well, what's my imagination? What's reality? Is this my imagination? Is this reality? How can I be creative and not destructive to break up this opposition? Okay, that's what I'm referring to here. Now, another thing I wanted to do too was, I'm going to take Venus off too here, is I'm going to remove the world axis. And I just want to show you how beautiful all these sextiles are. Okay. So the first opposition we've got on this new moon, and like I said, it's basically on the cusp of Leo and Aquarius, is right here between the Pluto and the sun and moon. And then we do have Saturn and Neptune on the world axis, so we'll just put this guy right here. Okay, but those are those sextiles. And then we have Uranus right at the beginning of Gemini. It's kind of like playing pickup sticks. Oh, I missed the center. Can I move it? Yeah, not so bad. All right, because I want you guys, if you want, I want you to be able to, like, if you want to take a screenshot of this, because I tell you what, guys, I just kind of meditated on this beautiful star that's happening up in the sky right now. To see it, you know, to meditate on it, to see these wonderful opportunity points, even though it feels like we're going down, 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 right? So just, you know, and just remember, as the moon comes along, it's going to, when it hits Libra, it's going to activate this. It's going to activate, it's going to trine this, come up to Sagittarius. So the moon is going to go and activate all 6 of these points once a month. The sun will be coming up pretty quickly. Now, another thing I wanted to show you about this beautiful configuration is that this is what, when I say the Star of David, that's what I mean. It's the 2 triangles, one on top of each other. And that's what we've got going on here. Each one of these points, let's see if I can get the right ones going on here. Did I get it right? Oh, oops. Okay. Well, anyway, whoops. You get what I'm saying. You can see, here's that first star, that first triangle of the star. You can see how it lines up pretty good. And then if we flip this triangle all the way around, it still is highlighting all those sextile points. So that's your Star of David. And oh, and again, those 2 triangles, that's the fire triangle and then the water triangle. And then they make the Star of David. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this because it was so beautiful. And I still want to mention to you guys again, because this is such an important time, July and August here, to create for what we want after April, next spring and next summer. So keep yourself super focused on what you want, and don't think about, you know, how you're going to get rid of stuff. Don't focus on what you want to get rid of. Keep focusing on the fabulous newness that's going to be going on. Think positive. How are you going to create the new? And think in terms of your feelings. Or think in terms of your feelings. You know, let them both shine, right? How are you going to feel next summer? Personally, one of the feelings I'm going to be focusing on is relief that we've gotten through this. I have a feeling that at least that's what all the other astrologers are saying. A year from now, things are going to be entirely different. As you meditate on this, think about a largeness around your heart. Think about your heart. I mean, literally the electromagnetic field around your heart is huge. It's bigger than any other organ in the body. And let yourself smile. Think of all the things you have to be grateful for. That you've got a refrigerator, that you've got a car, that you've got, you know, all those kinds of things. Just be grateful that you've got a bed with snuggy sheets that you can sleep in. You know, all those kinds of things. Okay. I think that's about all I need to go over today. And gosh, I've totally forgotten about what's going to happen next week. We'll talk about that next week then. So everybody, thank you so much for coming. And I hope to see you next time. And remember to like and subscribe. Oh, and did I do this? I keep forgetting to do this. Entertainment only. Bye. See you next time.